Hey everyone, for today's project we need to take a very short road trip. Told you it was short. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for dropping by. This is my 1936 Chevy Coupe. However, underneath it's not 1936. I have a rear axle from a 1957 Bel Air, possibly, who knows. And the problem I have is the rear ratio, the gear ratio and the differential is completely wrong for the TH350 transmission that I have in the car. So today's mission, I'm going to attempt to replace the rear differential gear, the whole pumpkin. I say attempt because I've never done this before, and hopefully that will resolve the gearing issue I have in the car. So let's have a look at the tools that I think I may require. First of all, let's have a look at this new pumpkin. This whole unit was sent to me by Randy Ward in Southern California. Rod Benders. Very kind donation, very valued subscriber. Now this differential has a stamp on it, on the gear set. And Randy tells me that that is a 3.08 compared to the 4.56 that I currently have. So this will be much better for cruising about, obviously not for drag racing, but that's what I want to do anyway. So let's have a look at the other tools that I have. We have a good floor jack, a collection of axle stands. You can't be too safe. I'm going to be under the car for a while and I'm going to be pushing and pulling heavy stuff. A couple of blocks of wood, chalk the front wheels, you don't want it rolling away. Ratchets and sockets of various sizes. Impact gun, not essential, makes life easier. A selection of ring spanners, or wrenches, whatever you want to call them. Pry bars and screwdrivers. And chisels to separate the pumpkin from the housing. Selection of persuader sticks. Gasket marker material. I have your regular high temperature stuff and I have the non-hardening stuff, which apparently I want to use to mate up the pumpkin to the housing. Fresh gear oil and a sucky pushy thing to get it back into the housing. Spongy stuff to put under the axle in case the pumpkin falls on the floor. A large drip tray to collect all my mistakes. A pair of decent leather gloves. These are welding gloves, but they'll do. I'd rather have a crushed hand than a torn hand. And bungee cables to tie my drive shaft out the way. You can use zip ties if you like, but these are reusable and I'm Scottish. And if there's anything else that I require that's not on this table, I'll update this list at the end of the video. Okay, what's first then? So the very first thing I'm going to do, put a couple of blocks under the front wheels. My driveway is on a slope, so it's kind of crucial. Next I'm going to jack up the back of the car. Now if you don't have an impact gun, you probably want to loosen off the lug nuts on the back wheels. If you have an impact gun, you don't need to do that. The impact gun will take them off even if it's floating in the air. So let me get it jacked up and get the wheels off. This is probably a good time to drain the diff fluid, and luckily on this rear axle housing we have a drain plug and we have a filler plug. So that's a drain plug, filler plug. So I'll get my big drip tray, take that one out, and while that's emptying I can remove the wheels and probably get onto the drive shaft. You can see there's 4 nuts holding the drive shaft on to the yoke. So let's get the fluid out. So I've got my drip tray ready, I've got a rag. So this cap is, or plug, is a 22mm. Now I've replaced this fairly recently, I've replaced the fluid fairly recently, so this shouldn't be too tight. It's got, I think it's a plastic seal on it. I just want to make sure I don't need that extension. I know these gloves are a bit clumsy, but I don't have any of the nitro ones at the moment, so you just want to make sure your socket's on properly. I don't want to be rounding that. Yeah, it's not even tight. Well, it's tight, but it's not stupid tight. I'm going to leave the socket on so that it's easier to catch. And it's windy, of course, so this oil is going to go everywhere. Nice and clean, which is a good sign. I'll just let that drain for a while, and while that's draining I will get the wheels off. Right, the fluid's pretty much empty, so I'm going to put the cap back on before I forget. Now we need to remove the brake drums. These can be horrible if there's a lip in them, but hopefully these will be okay. Excellent, I don't have any lips in these, so they're good to put back on when the time's right. Now the reason I've taken this off, this section here has to come out about 6 inches or so, and it's held on at the back with 4 bolts, 4 nuts and bolts. But I'll get the other drum off and then we can maybe take the drive shaft off. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, time to get back underneath. Let's get this drive shaft disconnected. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put the bungee cord somewhere to secure it so it doesn't fall and do anything unexpected like. Okay, so now when I disconnect these nuts, it should be able to just lie in that cord. So I have the transmission in neutral so that I can spin it around and get access to all the bolts, but that doesn't help me when I'm trying to put pressure on them. So I'll use my persuader bar to stop it rotating. Now I can spin it around, do the other two. Right, so now we should be able to push it that way because there's about 1 inch of play into the transmission itself. Oh, where did that washer go? Now I would like this. Now that should be okay. I kind of wanted it to the side, but I can't move it to the side because where it goes through the axle frame, that's as far over that way and that way it can go. So there should be enough clearance for that to come down and out. Right, so what's next? Next we have 4 bolts, or 4 nuts, holding the shaft into the housing. So we need to get them off. Thankfully that one's not mega tight. I hope the rest are the same. Okay, what I've noticed, these studs that are coming through are not actually studs, they're bolts that come from the other side. So I'm going to have to get a wrench. You can see in there. I need to get a wrench on that while I'm turning the nut on the other side. So now that those 4 nuts are off, technically it should just come out. And I think the only thing that's holding it in is just the seal that was used on the plate behind this. They probably used gasket marker like I'm intending to use. It should have like a paper gasket. But as you can see, that's pretty solid. So I need to find a way to maybe, I don't want to damage the plate that's behind there with a hammer and chisel, but I might do it just a little bit to free it up because it looks like it's got years of build-up of some material. So yeah, I'll give that backing plate a little tap to see if it separates and then see if it pulls out. So there's a square plate here, that's one edge of it. And it's I just need to break that seal, hopefully. I'm not hitting it hard, I'm just trying to get through the rubber because it's definitely got RTV. Okay, I can see it coming loose now. I'll do the same at the other side. Okay, let's try this one. It's actually just a wood chisel, but it's much sharper than the big steel one. As I say, I'm just trying to cut through the rubber seal. I'm not trying to cut through metal here. Okay, so that plate is kind of loose, but it's still not coming out. But the hub still doesn't, the actual shaft still doesn't want to come out. So, looks like I need some sort of slide hammer. I'm currently talking to online support. This is Randy Ward, the guy that sent me the new pumpkin. And he's actually dismantling his own car and taking pictures to show me what to do. Guys, this is what it's all about. If you don't know what you're doing, ask, and people are more than happy to pass on the knowledge. This is fantastic. Thanks, Randy. So I'll see you back at the car once I figure this out with Randy. Right then, here's the deal. This shaft is currently being held in with the pressure of the wheel bearing, okay? I don't have anything at the back to tap it because the back is all the actual housing. So it has to be hammered from this side or levered from this side. And I don't have a puller and I don't have a slide hammer. So my only option is to use my brake cylinder as leverage. Now, it's not ideal, but I do have a spare one in case I screw it up. So I'm going to just lever it out, not with that obviously. Lever it a bit, turn it, lever it a bit, turn it, and see if that works. Okay, I need to take these bolts all the way out. They're trying to get them away. Excellent. Thanks, Randy. That's awesome. Well, this side was way easier than the other side. Helps when you know what you're doing, or at least you get someone online that can tell you instantly how to do it. So here's what makes this setup relatively simple. As you can see, I didn't have to detach anything from the differential itself to release this. There's no clips in the pumpkin for this type of shaft. So I think this is the same, everything from like 56 or 57 up to 66 in the GM differentials. So that's as far out as I have to go. Now we can get to the, not so much the hard part, but the heavy part, because I need to take the old pumpkin out, which is going to weigh a lot. So I need to be careful, and then put the new one in, and then slap it all together before the sun goes down, hopefully. So let's get underneath. So now we have all these nuts to remove. I think there's maybe 12 of them. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take most of them off completely, but I'm going to leave the top couple on with a few threads, just so that when I start levering this out, it doesn't fall down. Once I'm happy that it's kind of separated, I'll get the jack up, I'll remove the top two nuts, which are way up there, and then I'll slowly lower the diff down without incident, hopefully. So let's get on with that. Okay, so all the nuts are off except for that one there, and there's one round at this side which is on with maybe, you know, maybe 5 threads, because I'm going to have to tap this to try and break this seal, and I don't want it falling on my head. So let's give it a whack-a-rooney with this rubber mallet. Well, that's doing nothing. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I'm going to try and use the jack just to lever up the front part of the diff, just to try and break that seal. I don't want to go too far or I'll bend all the studs. So I just want this bit to separate, even a wee tiny bit, to get a lever in to pull it apart. The danger here is if I lift this up, it's going to come off the axle stands if it doesn't separate. I think it is separating a wee bit. I really don't want to push the jack up any higher. Not with me lying underneath it. Maybe I'll give it a wee tap now. If I can find my hammer. There we go. So now I can let it off the jack. Pull that out the way. Make sure you pour more diff oil all over the driveway, that's important. I'm going to get my drip tray and just catch some of it. I've run out of daylight. Temperature is plummeting. I think it's going to be like -14 tonight. So I can't proceed. My fingers get numb within like a minute. And I don't want to do anything stupid. Well, I always do stupid stuff, but let's take precautions. When I throw a cover over Bugsy, back at it in the morning. See you shortly.